breakdowns or losing big fish? Which one's worse, right? Whew. All right, so here's the one. 2011, I had just gotten my brand new boat, and I fished all of 2011 out of it, and then that was the first time I ever won Angler of the Year in the Toyota Series. Back then they were they called Costas? I'm not sure what they were called then. But anyways, Toyota Series now. So I had basically made almost every top 10, made the top 10 in the championship on Kentucky Lake, won my first ever Angler of the Year. Man, I'm on kind of cloud nine thinking, here's how crazy it was. I started off that year on Choke Canyon. Never been there before. I was in 7th place after one, 7th place after day 2, 7th place after day 3. Man, I was like, awesome. Went to a lake I'd never been before. My buddy who I was staying with, Kelly Owens, won it. Russell Cecil, who's now my fishing partner, I didn't even know him at the time. Like, we never talked, but that's a whole nother story of how we met. But it was from that event. My fishing partner, Brent, who I've fished with forever, drew him on day, I think, 1. And so they got to talking, and next thing you know, it started a relationship that me and Russell eventually, we ended up staying together, not at Rayburn, but at Toledo. And that was a whole nother deal. I actually won the Toledo Bend event. But here's the crazy part. So the next event was on Rayburn. We had a canceled day, and after day 1, I was in 2nd. And then I finished, I forget where I'm 10th or 11th, 12th, 9th. I don't know. I can't even, it was a long time ago. The next event was Toledo Bend. And, I got to talk about that one. I broke down in that event too. I forgot about it. I broke down in that event. But I was leading day 1, day 2, and day 3 and won the event. Then we go to Texoma, the last event of the series. Russell's Angler of the Year. I'm in 3rd. I ended up making a top 10, but here's the crazy part. Day 1, I'm in 2nd. Day 2, I'm in 1st, and I ended up in 2nd. So from the Rayburn event, other than one day, I was leading in 1st or 2nd in every one of those events of the last 3 events. And then went to the championship at Kentucky Lake and made a top 10 there. So on the schedule, first term of the year, Amistad. Amistad was always one of my favorite lakes, but I couldn't ever make it happen on tournament, although I'd only been there once or twice. Get down there and crush it. I think day 1 I'm in 2nd. I smashed them on day 2. Now I've got a giant lead. It's 5 to 7 pounds. I can't remember, but it's a really big lead going into the final day. Go out there on the final day. We have a giant wind. So I go do my first little thing through my first area again, catch a couple, go through my second area, and I thought it was going to be protected, but it was chocolate milk, blowing, white cap and everything. Fished for like 45 minutes, never caught a fish. And that's where I'd really caught them on day 2. Now, it wasn't the only area I had, but it was an area that was phenomenal. I left there and went back to where I started on day 1 because I had a whole bunch more water in there. And it's day 3, so there's only 10 guys on the lake, right? So I'm like, no one's even going to be in here. So I go in there, but the waves were so bad, and so I'm making it, but I mean, there's huge waves on Amistad. All of a sudden, I get to the creek I'm in, which is a giant, massive creek. I just get to the mouth of it, and my motor shuts off. Now, I'm on the Mexico side too, by the way. Got to throw that in there. So I'm on the Mexico side, and I'm in like 4 footers, and I can't do anything. Like, I can't even, like, my motor, I think it cranked. No, it wouldn't even crank. So I was sitting here going, okay. And it doesn't take long before the shoreline's getting right there. Well, if any of y'all know, I'll explain this to y'all. On Amistad, you were never allowed to step foot on the ground in Mexico. And what I mean by that is, like, you can fish over there all you want to, but you do not, whatever you do not get on the bank. Do not do any of that stuff, man. And I'm sure a lot of people have never been down there, but Border Patrol. The second thing, you got to understand all this. We have Border Patrol down there. They drive big old boats down there. We see them all the time, whatever, you know, it's not a big deal. And this isn't anything scary about Mexico or like Amistad's such a different place. It's really safe down there in my opinion. Really, never get worried about getting on the lake of Amistad. However, that border patrol and stuff, there's buoys that run down the middle of the lake, that really follow the channel, the river channel, because the river channel is what separates the border on those lakes. They can't cross it. From my understanding, you could be 100 feet away and like you could be getting robbed in front of them or something or whatever, and they can't do anything about it. That's what I've been told. I, I'm not saying they wouldn't. I don't know, but I'm just telling you they can't help. So now I'm sitting there in 4-foot waves. My trolling motor works, so I'm on that trolling motor, trolling in 4-foot waves, not to go anywhere, just so I don't end up in Mexico or like my boat get beached up on the bank or anything like that. I do this for an hour or two. I'm in Mexico. If anyone's over there and on the Mexico side, you don't get much service over there. And a lot of times it's the service is crazy and it's like a collect call. It's a big ordeal, but most of the time you don't get service. There's no towers over there. So I'm sitting there and I'm trying to get a hold, like I got to get a hold of someone, right? So I finally, luckily, my fishing partner, Brent, was in the event as a co-angler. He made the top 10. He's with, with a guy I know named Austin, right? So he's in the boat with them. It's the only guy I really know in the top 10. And I'm calling to him, and they just so happen to be in the creek. And I saw him, and I'm the only one in this creek. And I remember, it's not like a creek you think. Like the creek it's a giant, massive, big bay. And they eventually get over there, and I said, "Hey, look, man, I know y'all are fishing. Just idle me somewhere protected." So they came over there. They hooked up to me. Like I said, this has been a couple hours. I've been on the trolling motor, just trying not to get up on the bank, and I haven't been making any progress. I'm going backwards, but not that fast. I finally they give me some place that's really calm. And I said, man, I'm not, this is my problem, whatever. There's nothing I can do. I'm broke down. Y'all just go ahead. So I got in like 4 foot of water and I power pulled down, and it was completely calm because I was protected. It's where they got me. I'm by no means a mechanic. I've messed around with boats, and I'm always like, just take the cowling off and start looking. And I start looking around, and I'm looking around, and I look on basically the flywheel, and right above there, I'm like, man, that doesn't, something's not right there. And I realized it's a part came off, this small little part. And luckily I'm like, okay, it's small. I find it in the bottom of the motor, and I'm like, okay, it's 2 screws. I'm like, this can't be this easy, right? But the screws are like so little. So I sit around in that motor and look around, and finally I found one fairly easy. Finally find the other one. It's dropped down into this crack, and I've got screwdrivers, everything, trying to like chopstick it up. This takes another hour before all this so I've probably lost 3 to 4 hours of an 8-hour day. So I finally get it all put back on there, and it cranks. I couldn't believe it cranked, but it cranked back up, and I'm good to go. It's just screws came out. So I go back to fishing. I don't even remember how many fish I had at this point in time, but I catch a 5-pounder, I catch a 4-pounder, I catch a couple 3s. Like, I'm back on track. I probably shouldn't have ever left there, but I was a little worried because I was still on the Mexico side. I probably should have stayed there, but I was a little worried about what happens if something happens and I can't get any help to get back over, right? I don't have any service. I've got a pretty good bag. Let's leave. So I left. I had another area where I was always in the day. I'm like, let's go there and end the day. I had also called the tournament director at the time, Ron Lampin. He had let, like he's supposed to, let everyone know that I broke down. So the official, when I say officials, like the officials from Amistad. And so as I cross getting back into the Texas side and driving down the lake, to go underneath the bridge, I get stopped by Border Patrol. And of course they do their whole deal, and they're like, they ask me if I'd ever gotten, did I ever, are you sure you never got on Mexican soil? I'm like, no, I just, whatever. I drive 5 to 10 more minutes, get stopped by another border patrol on the water. Same deal, same question. I think I got stopped 3 times. By the third time, I'm still on my, I'm not like driving around fishing. I'm still going. And I was like, guys, look, I know y'all, I've been stopped 3 times. Like, I'm leading this tournament. Like, y'all, I've told y'all. The other thing too is they got cameras over there, right? They can see if I got out over there. I'm sure they had eyes on me the whole time. Cause it's not like I'm that far away from the border. I'm only like a quarter or half a mile. So, I mean, they can see. I'm just like, guys, y'all are killing me here. Come on. So, I mean, he let me go really quick. But they were just making sure. I mean, that's what they do. So I get back over there. I might catch one more fish. I think I caught one more and I lost one. I lost one about 3.5. At the time, I was like, I don't know if I lost a fish in 3 days down there. And I was throwing a bait with treble hooks and everything. And I'd done pretty good. I was wondering if that fish was going to cost me. Anyways, I get up to the weigh-in, and my buddy Brent smashed on him. He finished second in the event as a going. I think he was in 8th, finished second. I had by far my worst day, but I also missed 3 to 4 hours of fishing between the stops, the breakdown, the trolling, and then fixing my boat. I only got like a half a day in. I was like, man, I dropped a bunch. I look up with one more guy left, and I'm still in first place. And ended up a guy weighed in like a 10 or 11 pounder and weighed in like 23 or 24 pounds. I think I had like 18, and I lost that event by 4 ounces. And what's frustrating about it is that, like, maybe I don't catch another fish, right, in those 4 hours. But the first 2 days showed me I was going to. And then the final day was when I got my boat fixed. I caught like 8 or 9 fish in the last 2.5 hours. I mean, I think I never went very long without catching fish. Only that one time when I went to that dirty water. Other than that, I caught fish constantly. And I was catching big ones. And I was catching big ones throughout the entire event. And it's not like that day was any different. I just needed the other 4 hours. That one was a tough one because, yeah, I mean, you only get so many of those. You only get so many times where you're leading. And I mean, not by an ounce or two, like leading, like with a crazy lead. And you don't, correct, I didn't win the tournament. Not many people know that. The fact that, like, what happened. Most of the guys around that tournament that knew that I had broke down, they all did. But like anyone else just looks up and goes, Todd lost the lead. And yeah, it was a tough one. So, I mean, when you lose a fish, right? And maybe that fish I lost, that 3.5 pounder, maybe it calls 4 ounces. I don't know. Maybe it went to 3.5. Maybe it was whatever. It was the only fish I lost in 3 days. If you're going to, there's the difference between losing a fish and then losing it off of breakdowns. Man, when you feel like you didn't have every opportunity, like when that opportunity is right there and you have a chance, and something mechanical happens that's out of your control and you did nothing wrong, and it was just a freak thing, those are the tough ones. So yeah, I still think I would take losing a fish over a breakdown any day of the week, because the breakdown really wasn't your fault. Losing the fish, maybe you could have fought the fish different. A lot of times it's not your fault either. There's a big difference between losing 4 hours of a day and losing a big fish. Like the 4 hours a day, like, I mean, you could have caught, I could have caught 30 pounds that day, right? You never know. Maybe I never catch another fish, but it's the unknown. It's the what ifs, right? Those are the tough ones. So yeah, I don't know if you like these guys. Let me know, because I hate to say it, but I've got more. And maybe at the end of this, I'll ask y'all, like, which one was the worst? Because that one was kind of brutal on me. That one hit hard. Those hit hard too when I was, 12, 13 years ago. I was not exactly, man, I had just gotten married. I was trying, man, we didn't have a lot of money, right? And it was, those things, that was That's like a $45,000 difference right there in a breakdown. So yeah, $45,000 is a lot. So anyways, hope you all enjoyed it. I got more of these to come if y'all want to hear them. See y'all.